Hey, welcome back to Lisgraphix. Today we're diving into one of the most essential features in Photoshop, layers. If you're new, layers can seem tricky at first, but trust me, by the end of this video, you'll have them mastered. Make sure you have Photoshop open, and let's jump right in. Alright, let's take a deeper look at what layers really are and how they work practically. Think of layers like transparent sheets stacked on top of each other. Imagine placing clear plastic sheets on a table. You draw a house on one, trees on another, and clouds on a third sheet. Now, when you stack these sheets, they all combine to form a single picture, right? That's exactly how layers work in Photoshop. Let's open Photoshop and create a fresh A4-sized canvas to practice this. First, select the brush tool from the toolbar, choose a bright color, and quickly sketch out a simple house shape on the first layer. Notice your layers panel on the right side. It currently shows just one layer, named Background. Let's click the plus icon below this layers panel to add another layer. On this second layer, switch to a different color and draw a few trees around your house. Then, let's add a third layer by clicking the plus icon again. On this layer, use a different color to draw some clouds or a sun in the sky. Here's the magic. Click the Move tool, then select each layer in the Layers panel one by one and drag them around. Notice how each drawing moves independently without affecting anything on the other layers. Why does this matter? Imagine you're designing a flyer or editing a photo. You can keep the text on one layer, images on another, and the background separately. Need to change your text? Easy, select its layer without affecting anything else. Want to move or edit your image? Just click that layer and reposition it. Layers give you incredible flexibility, making editing and design faster and less stressful. You can also temporarily hide a layer. Just click the little eye icon next to the layer name. Try this out with the clouds or trees we just drew. They vanish temporarily, but you can always bring them right back. And that's your real-life example to clearly understand Photoshop layers. Once you get comfortable working this way, you'll wonder how you ever designed without them. Now that we understand what layers are and why they're important, let's take things a step further by learning how to create, rename, and organize layers properly. Let's start by creating a new layer. Look over at the bottom of the Layers panel on the right. See that little plus icon? Click it. Boom. A new layer appears. You'll notice it says something like Layer 1. That means it's a blank canvas above whatever layer is selected. Let me show you a simple design example. I'll create the layer and draw a red rectangle using the Shape tool. Now, I'll add a second layer and place a photo. Then, I'll add another new layer and type in some text like Sale Now On. Each of these elements, shape, photo, text, sits on its own layer. Here's a power tip, always rename your layers. Double-click on the layer name, Layer 1, for example, and give it a name like Red Background or Main Image. Because later, when you have 10, 20, even 50 layers, finding layer 43 won't help you. But price tag or headline text will save you time and confusion. Layers are like stacks of paper. The top layer shows on top of everything else. Let me demonstrate. I'll drag the text layer under the image layer, and now the text is hidden. If I drag it back to the top, it appears again. This is super important for organizing layouts, especially in posters, flyers, and social media designs. Let's say you're designing a church flyer. You might have the background photo on one layer, a transparent white shape for text on another, the church name in bold on another layer, and contact info at the bottom. If a client wants to change the church name font or reposition it, all you need to do is click that layer. No digging through a pile of unnamed mess. You can also color code layers. Right-click on a layer, choose Layer Properties, and set a color like red for titles, blue for images, or green for decorative elements. This makes spotting specific parts of your design easier at a glance, especially if you're managing a busy document. Finally, here's a pro habit. As soon as you add something to your project, rename it and decide where it belongs in your design. Organizing your layers from the beginning helps you avoid confusion, keeps your file clean, and makes editing later way faster. And that's how you create and organize layers like a pro. Alright, now that you know how to create and organize layers, let's take your layer management to the next level by learning about groups and adjustment layers. First, let's talk about grouping layers. If your design has lots of elements, like text, images, buttons, and shapes, things can get messy real quick. That's where grouping helps. Just select the layers you want to group, Hold Shift or Control and click each one, then press Ctrl+G or right-click and choose Group from Layers. Now you have a folder that you can collapse or expand, making your panel way cleaner. Real-life example, imagine you're working on a product banner. You might have a product photo, shadow effect, and a highlight all layered separately. Group them as Product, and boom, now you can move or scale them together like one object. Now let's look at adjustment layers, one of the most powerful features in Photoshop. Click the little circle icon at the bottom of the Layers panel. This opens up a bunch of options like brightness, contrast, hue, saturation, levels, and more. Pick brightness contrast for now. You'll see it adds a new layer just above your other layers. Here's what's cool, adjustment layers don't affect your original image directly. So if you mess something up, no problem, just delete or hide the adjustment layer and your design is untouched. By default, adjustment layers affect everything below them, but what if you only wanted to affect one layer? Right-click on the adjustment layer and select Create Clipping Mask. Now, that adjustment only affects the layer directly underneath it. Example, add a hue saturation adjustment to just your text layer. You can now change the color of the text without touching the rest of the design. Why should you care about groups and adjustments? Because when your designs grow and clients want changes, you'll save hours by having clean, organized, flexible control over every part of your layout. Groups equals better structure. Adjustment layers equals safer edits. Combine the two, and you're designing like a pro. Alright, now that you know how to group and adjust your layers, let's look at two small but super important features: layer visibility and layer locking. These features help you manage your workspace and avoid accidental mistakes. Let's start with visibility. Each layer in Photoshop has a tiny eye icon next to it on the left. This eye means the layer is visible. Click the eye once, and the layer disappears. It's not deleted, it's just hidden. Click it again, and it's back. This is super useful when you want to compare before and after edits or isolate one element while working. Real-life example. Let's say you're working on a flyer, and you've added a background image and some text. You can hide the background temporarily by clicking its eye icon. That lets you focus only on the text without distractions. Now let's talk about locking. Photoshop allows you to lock layers so you don't accidentally move or edit them. You can lock a layer by selecting it and then clicking the lock icon at the top of the Layers panel. Now try moving or painting on that layer. Nothing happens. It's fully protected. Real-life example. You just positioned your background perfectly and don't want it to shift. Lock it. Or maybe you've added a watermark or logo that needs to stay in place. Lock it. You can also choose specific types of locks. Click the lock drop-down and you'll see options. Lock position. Lock image pixels. Lock transparent pixels. So if you just want to prevent it from moving but still edit it, lock the position only. Visibility and locking may seem small, but they make a big difference. Imagine working on a complex design with dozens of layers. Accidentally moving your background or editing the wrong image. A few clicks with layer visibility and locking save you from all that frustration. In short, use visibility to control what you see. Use locking to protect what you've already perfected. Alright, now let's explore two super fun and creative tools in Photoshop: blending modes and opacity. These help you mix layers together and control how strong or subtle they appear. Let's start with opacity. Every layer has an opacity slider at the top of the Layers panel. By default, it's set to 100%, which means the layer is fully visible. Lowering the opacity makes the layer more transparent. At 50%, the layer looks faded. At 0%, it becomes completely invisible. This is great when you want a soft background, a watermark, or a subtle overlay. Real-life example. Say you want your headline to sit softly over an image. Lower the opacity slightly so the background peeks through. Now let's spice things up with blending modes. Right next to opacity, you'll see a drop-down menu that says Normal. Click that, and you'll see a list of blending options, like Multiply, Overlay, Screen, Soft Light, and more. Each blending mode tells Photoshop how to mix that layer with the ones below it. For example, Multiply makes things darker, perfect for shadows. Screen brightens, useful for light flares or glow effects. Overlay adds contrast, ideal for dramatic edits. Real-life example. If you want to place a texture over a photo, try using the Overlay or Soft Light blending mode to create depth without hiding the photo underneath. Here's where it gets interesting. Combine opacity with blending modes. Lower the opacity of a layer and change its blending mode to Overlay or Soft Light. You'll get some really cool, professional effects in seconds. Opacity and blending modes give you more control, style, and creativity in your designs. Whether you're editing photos, creating flyers, or designing banners, these tools take your visuals to the next level. And that's it, fam. You just unlocked one of the most powerful parts of Photoshop: layers. Let's quickly recap what you learned in this video. What layers are and how they work. How to create, rename, and organize layers. How to group layers and apply adjustment layers. How to control visibility and protect layers with locking. And of course, how to use blending modes and opacity to bring your designs to life. This knowledge right here is the foundation for all the amazing designs you'll create, from flyers, social media posts, and logos to photo editing and full brand visuals. If this video helped you, make sure to like, thumbs up it, comment speech balloon your thoughts, and subscribe bell so you don't miss the next one, because we're only getting started. Follow me on TikTok at Lisgraphix for daily design tips, behind the scenes, and client work. And if you need design services or want to check out my portfolio, visit www.lisgraphix.com. Thanks for watching. Stay creative, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.